So I want to talk about a conversation I had yesterday with Rob Noor. Those of you who don't know who Rob Noor is, he's a right-wing political commentator. He does a live stream every day. You can call into his show and discuss things, which I think is super awesome. Too many of these big channels don't talk to the public. They don't talk to the average Joe. They only have on other big influencers on to grow their brand. And Rob's more interested in hearing from the average Joe, the everyday guy that is also dealing in this space and doesn't have a YouTube channel. So I respect him very much. He's a really good debater, by far one of my favorite debaters to watch. And like I said, he's a really good dude. He's like the guy you would see at a kid's birthday party that you would get stuck having a 3-hour long conversation about with whatever. And yesterday I called into a show and I had brought up that a lot of things just aren't adding up, which derailed into him drilling me on if I think it's CIA and MK Ultra. And kinda. The honest answer is kinda. We all know that MK Ultra was a thing back in like the 60s, I think, and I really doubt the government had given up on that, and or other governments had given up on that. We know that the CIA is responsible for all kinds of things around the world, from coups and other governments to political assassinations. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me that there was some sort of program designed to ramp up tensions and get the civilian population fighting amongst each other. But what I really was wanting to talk about was just how things aren't adding up. And what I mean by that is, everything like with the Charlie Kirk shooter, or what happened with the Trump assassination. These things happen, they're a story for a week or two, and then they just get pigeonholed or derailed by something else. The assassination attempt on Trump's life. That guy, they went to his house and there was no silverware in any of the drawers. He had no social media footprint at all, but he had 6 or 7 different cell phones. He trained at a facility where FBI trained, which to me isn't that really big of a talking point. I train jiu-jitsu with guys that are DEA, FBI, law enforcement. So like it's common for, if you're into firearms, guys, that are in law enforcement, go shoot their firearms. Anyways, but yeah, like the whole, the same thing with the Charlie Kirk assassination. That kid had no social media footprint, but his parents were super right-wing MAGA, but he had a trans boyfriend. And I don't know if anyone else is aware of this, but like 2 days after what happened to Charlie Kirk, they released the manifesto of the Tennessee trans shooter. Why would you hold on to that for months and months and months, and then right after supposed left-wing trans affiliated shooter assassinates a right-wing political activist, do you release that? Is that, are they trying to flame tensions up more? We have video of him climbing down off the roof with no gun in his hand, but we're told that they found the gun in the woods. If we have the video of him getting down, where's the video of him getting up? Where's the video of him taking a shot? And now, social media, keep spitting. Social media is full of all these conspiracies of, there was a guy in the crowd with a pocket gun, or it sounds like the shot came from over here. And if you freeze frame, you can see the bullet coming from this way and not this way, like all these crazy conspiracies. And if the FBI has all this evidence, why don't they just shut all this down and come out with the official story? We supposedly got the shooter in custody. Charlie's dead. Let's put an end to this. I know there's investigations and stuff that has to go on, but none of it adds up. The text messages don't add up. Now, the text messages can easily be explained by, he had told his boyfriend, hey, I'm going to text you, play dumb, use these lines so you have plausible deniability because they're going to interrogate you. But apparently, they interrogated this guy for like a day and let him go. They questioned him and then just let him go. Not saying they needed to hold him, but the family supposedly said they were surprisingly shocked at how little he was investigated. They just prosecuted the other attempted assassination guy for Trump, who supposedly, a couple days before him getting arrested, had gotten some $160,000 money transfer from some unknown account, and like his daughter's there. It's just all this craziness. Just none of it adds up. None of it adds up, and it keeps going in one direction. All these school shooters that have been trans of lately, I think the last 9 of them have been trans. I could see if maybe, 1 or 2 of them, 3 of them, but every single one, like it's all going in one direction, and it seems like they're just trying to ramp up one side, and then eventually it's going to swing the other direction. We're constantly being gaslit into thinking that the right wing is the violent side. There's some study or data that came out was saying that, most of the political violence comes from the right, but it's not true. Once you look into the study and how they got to that conclusion and stuff, they left out a ton of stuff, like all the 2020 riots and all the people that were arrested but let go from those riots. And like, we're just being fed bullshit from like every angle, and it seems like it's all by design. I can't buy into that it's just naturally happening, and the left wingers are just this super violent, group. And, I do definitely, a lot of these people, if you are becoming trans, you're messing with your hormones, and that causes a lot of issues. If you're on SSRIs, that causes a lot of issues. But it seems like it's by design. It seems almost intentional. I'm not saying it's CIA and MK Ultra. Rob was really drilling me on that point yesterday, and I'm not necessarily saying that, but the tensions definitely are being rose. It's getting tense. And this morning I wake up to my Twitter feed. There was another shooter on an ICE building, took some shots at some people. It sounds like immigrants that were in custody were the ones that were hit. I'm sure one side of the media is going to spin it as some, they're already saying it's another white male. There's going to be another white male MAGA supporter killing immigrants. And then, the bullet casings they found, of course, have left-wing anti-ICE, rhetoric on them. And it just all seems too convenient. It all seems fake. It all just seems fake, and it all seems designed to get us fighting more and more amongst each other. And while the peasants are fighting, the elites run off with whatever they want. It's going to allow, the government, Trump's already labeled Antifa a terrorist organization. And, next it's going to be, this group's a terrorist. And then it just seems like things are getting out of control. Things are definitely getting out of control. And what I really wanted to get to in that conversation with Rob was we need to focus on protecting ourselves, our families. We need to raise our kids right. We need to find God. We need to go to church. We need to focus on our communities and stop buying into all the rhetoric on social media. And, the CIA had a mind control, MK Ultra mind control back in the 60s. They're definitely using social media today to fan the flames. And I don't believe for not 1 second that a a lot of this is I don't want to say false flags or, staged, but it definitely just doesn't add up at all. And I don't know where we go from here other than focus on your circle. And I think the politics will follow. Yeah.